Coogs House. Houston's in the Final Four, got some Blue Devils in their way, and I don't think it's this crazy, insurmountable. We're going to get into it.
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Cougs, a podcast about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker Ainsworth, joined by Mike Brown of the Beer Sports Whatever podcast. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. We bring down Houston, Duke, Final Four, all things surrounding it, all episode long. But Mike, I've got to ask, when the Tennessee game tipped off, I think everyone's like, okay, like Houston's got a shot here to make the Final Four. It was pretty early that you knew this weekend was happening, right?
Like, I was terrified. I mean, I'm watching the game with a couple hundred other people at Kirby Ice House, and they just keep missing shots, Tennessee, and we keep making shots. I'm like, oh my God, this is about to happen. Like, this is happening. And then the second half comes, they make a little run, and I'm like, okay, are we actually going to win this game? And we won that game. And this team is so special. I mean, if you're a U of H fan, you and I did shows over the summer when we were doing the TBT. And this team feels different. I don't know why yet, but like something is happening in the next 4 days, Parker. And I'm terrified. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm not. Like, this is going to be, I'll say it right now, this game against Duke is going to be the best college basketball game of the last 20 years.
I think something special in the air, too. And I'm excited to be getting to go. Thank you to Beer Sports Whatever podcast for bringing folks along. And it's an exciting weekend. And I think there's something special in the air, like you said. And we're going to talk a lot about this weekend's game, but I won alive in the 80s. You weren't alive in the 80s for the Feisty Jamma. 2021, it felt like, holy crap, we're here. Like, this is all, like, now it's kind of like, I kind of thought we had a shot at this the whole time. Like, and I don't know if it's because there's been a handful of Sweet 16s, that Elite Eight run, like in between. But I kind of thought back in like December, like, okay, this team's got some things to fix, but like they've got the talent. And I think that's got to be part of why it feels like that, right?
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. And to quote one of my new favorite shows, The Bear, I don't know if you're a Bear fan.
I saw it over the summer, actually. Yeah.
So it's so good. I did all 3 seasons in 3 days. And one of the main characters says to the head chef, the head chef says, "Oh, I think things are great. They're dating." And she's like, "Well, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, right?" And he's like, "Yeah. It's exactly how I feel about U of H, like the entire season. Like, I'm waiting for this other shoe to drop." I'm like, okay, great wins. We win the Big 12 for a second straight year. I mean, we've lost, 4 Big 12 games in 2 years. Sampson just doing his thing. Shed goes out last year. Uzan comes in this year, balls out the entire year. They're dominant. They find a way to get past Gonzaga. They find a way to get past Purdue, which they had to go on the road as a 1 seed and play 60 miles from Purdue's campus in Indianapolis, which nobody seems to talk about. So I'll mention it here on the show. Then you have to go play a red-hot Tennessee team, and you beat the doors off of them. And now if this lines up, this is payback time for U of H against Duke, because they owe Duke, when Shed went out with that turned ankle, they owe Duke it's our time now. We are the bullies. Go Captain Phillips. I am the captain now. That's what they're going to do to Duke Saturday night.
Well,
I think
you and I were both in the building last year when Shed went down at the ankle, and like, first of all, like, I'm sitting there checking my phone all the time, like, where's the update on the ankle? I'm spending, like, I see him in a boot. I'm like, I don't know what happened. And the air went out of the stadium, and I almost forget, because of how deflating that was, that Emmanuel had a shot to tie it up at the end. Like even after all that, it was an incredibly low scoring game, kind of an ugly game, and they still had a chance to tie it up. I don't think this one's that kind of ugly. Duke certainly thinks they're better. What do you feel like about this Houston team versus that one? Do you feel better? I mean, obviously, you can't just replace Jamal Shed, but I feel we mentioned this is a pretty special group.
They have more talent. I mean, they have 3 guys that are going to go in the top 15 in the draft. Their big kid, I always forget that guy's name. They got Knuppel, and they've got obviously Cooper Flagg, who's the best player in the planet. U of H, the advantage that they have, if this game turns into a fight, not an actual fight, but I mean a slow it down, beat us in the half court, U of H is going to win this game. U of H is the tougher team. I think that they're the grittier team. They have the experience. The 3 guys I just named, all 3 of those kids are freshmen. Kelvin Sampson is coaching for a part of his legacy Saturday night. This is a guy, it reminds me a lot of when Dusty Baker won the World Series with the Astros. I think it's very close in where they were, not only age-wise, but Baker did everything up to winning that winning the World Series. If he wins this championship, he's not going to walk away. He's going to hang out probably for another year or 2 and then let his kid take over. But U of H has the experience. They're playing now a couple hours from their university. That is going to make a difference Saturday night. Because if you just look at Twitter and Facebook, we're driving there Saturday morning. It's going to be 40 to 50% U of H. The entire stadium would be my guess. I mean, that place is going to be red Saturday night.
Well, and I think it's going to be a lot of red. Duke obviously is a national program. I don't want to downplay, there was a lot more Duke in Dallas a year ago for the Sweet 16 than I thought there would be. Mm-hmm. I do think, though, it's like it feels less vacation-y to a Texan, too. Like, I'm getting to San Antonio at 4 o'clock, and I'm going to the games, and I'm not going to go do the river walk. This is a business trip.
Oh, God. Dude, I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, people are getting down there 2 days early. I'm like, guys, no offense, it's San Antonio. Unless I'm going to see Shamu at SeaWorld, I'm there for business. Okay. I got my parking pass, which city of San Antonio, be better, buy more, build more parking pass or build more parking lots. I'm looking at this thing, I've never had to sit in a forum before and talk about parking to go to a sporting event. My buddy's like, hey, do you want to pay $150 to park? No, I'd rather just rent a helicopter and drop me off at the Alamo Dome. But I told Bobby, my buddy Bobby last week.
That's Bobby of the Scott and Holman podcast, another Houston Cougar podcaster.
Yes, sir. And I told him, I said, I thought the Tennessee game was the biggest game of the last 20 years for the University of Houston. He's like, well, what about the Big 12? What about the Final Four game against Baylor, where we got the doors knocked off of us? And I said, no, dude. I said, in this era, this new era of college basketball, this is a statement series of games for U of H. To beat the doors off of Tennessee like they did was so impressive. And it does so much for recruiting. And you go into the Elite Eight. Now you're in the Final Four. This is it. This is it for the University of Houston. Outside of the year that they lost to NC State and Valvano in the title game, this team is their best shot at a championship.
Well, and I think the interesting thing, so obviously at the time, 2021 felt huge. You couldn't have guessed they're going to the Elite Eight the next year, Sweet 16s every year after that, et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. I think the difference, though, is that idea that, the Tennessee game this year felt bigger to me as well.
Exactly. My
articulation would be, I think, because it felt like losing that game would have probably put this, the season couldn't have been above a B, right? There was expectations coming to this one that, frankly, if I'm being honest, at the moment I wanted to beat Baylor and I had all these ways they were going to beat Baylor in my head. But truthfully, I was happy to get there, right? That was successful in so many ways. And I don't necessarily feel like this game would be an unsuccessful season if this game didn't go our way. Both teams are very good. But I do feel like Tennessee, I might have had more inkling in that just because this team is so talented. I want to spend the second segment talking about this game a little more specifically, and then we'll talk more about the U of H and all that in a second. But today's show is brought to you by our buddies over at Fabric. Now, Fabric's the people that can help you when life is moving too fast. If you have a family, watching your kids take their first steps, and then before you know it, they're off to college. That part of it always kills me because I'm not that. I'm so early in this. Securing their future is super important, though. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family needs. The Fabric, you can apply for life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes. In many cases, no health exams even required. I like that it's affordable. Again, teacher, coach, podcaster. Affordable is a big deal to me, obviously. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Today's show is also brought to you by our buddies over at Prize Picks. Baseball season starts for us right after this weekend's over. We're talking Tuesday, we're talking baseball, and there's no better weekend in the action than with Prize Picks. Best place to play daily fantasy sports. Prize Picks fit more or less in at least 2-player projections. If you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your catch back, whether it's the strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, whatever. Prize Picks keeps all games more exciting. It's fast, simple, takes less than 60 seconds. Your payouts quick, safe, and secure. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Parker Ainsworth, Mike Brown here talking Houston Cougars in the Final Four, and we've talked about leading up to this weekend. Duke this weekend, I got to be honest, I've watched a lot more Duke basketball in the last 4 or 5 days than I ever thought I would. Going into this, they are very talented. They are very good. And just because I know we're both Rockets fans, I certainly wouldn't kick a couple of their guys off the Rockets. But like you said, it's not always about having the best couple freshmen. The Fab Five did not win a national title, right? And so when you see this Duke team, because you do your own basketball, your own podcasting, all that kind of stuff, what do you see, Mike?
Talent. I mean, Cooper Flagg is sick. I mean, the guy just, there are certain guys that the game just slows down for, and Flagg's that guy. Like, Flagg is it. You look at him and you're like, okay, bar none, going to be the number 1 pick in the draft this upcoming year. You look at the kid from South Sudan, Kaman Malawak, who is a beast. I mean, that guy on the boards is a monster. Not super great offensively, but they don't need him to be. And then there's Swiss Army knife, this kid Knuppel, which, I mean, it's about those 3 guys, right? Like, you come into this game and it's that triangle, right? And what's so funny to me, Parker, is like, when you talk about even teams in the NBA or U of H, right? It's okay, if we stop this one guy, then we can win. I'm like, it's not always about that, because players like that will always get theirs. They're always going to average, Cryer's going to get somewhere between 12 to 20-ish points most nights. Where you lose is where you give up that like 8 to 10 points to a guy like Terrence Arsenault, right? Or if you let Sharp go for 24 while Cryer goes for 18 and Tugler gets 10 and Roberts pitches in with 16, it's that cascade of the older guys that just kills you. I love this matchup for U of H. I might be in the minority. I absolutely love it with everybody not named Cooper Flagg. I don't know what they're going to do with Flagg. To me, you double him. I think you've got not the whole game, but you have got to throw bodies at this guy. Not just because he's the bona fide number 1 pick, but it's just, you got to throw him off his game. You got to throw him a couple wrinkles. U of H also does not have those types of guys. Those big wing type of guys. You got Sharp, you got Malik Wilson, you got Uzan, you got Cry. Those are not big guys. Tugler's not quick enough to play with Flagg the whole game. Neither is Roberts, neither is Francis. So that's basically our entire arsenal that we have. So how are they going to play with Flagg is going to be the key to this game. But I think they've got more than enough. They're just going to play harder than Duke. I think U of H, that's how they win this game. Just play U of H basketball for 40 minutes. Nonstop, punch you in the mouth defense, hard fouls. When you get a shot at Flagg, respectfully, not in a negative, hit him to hurt him, but give him a nice foul. This is the Final Four. This is a chance to go to the championship. You play hard. And I'll tell you what, Sampson, if he's known for anything, he will get his guys to play hard.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Houston that this is the Final Four game because you get the most days to prepare,
Yep.
and Sampson's going to have a handful of options defensively. I thought what they did against Purdue, where like they would just call a timeout and come out in a completely different cover. They go from Dublin TKR, and then the next they go high post on him, make him force baseline, and then a couple, didn't work. So a couple timeouts or a couple sessions later, call another timeout, media timeout, or whatever it was, and they go to something different, right? Like they had options they'd clearly practiced. I don't know what they're going to end up in against Cooper Flagg. I do think, like you're saying, they're going to double him out the gate. I almost feel like I'd probably leave Joanne on him and then double with speed to kind of counteract. So I have size and speed there, and peeling off of wherever you peel off for on all of that. I also wonder, like, Coach spent 2 months with Coach Popovich. Pop's thing was always like, hey, we're going to let your guy get 50. I'm going to make sure no one else scores, and you can't win. I don't know which option they go with there. I do think, though, that Sampson having this many days, correct me wrong, I'd rather play them in the Final Four than the championship game because I get more time to prepare for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, they're going to throw bodies at him. You're going to see a lot of these guys on him. You're going to see Tugler on him at some point. Yeah, I mean, you've got. And it's so much easier said than done. Do they go with a box and one type of mentality? Like, okay, we're going to lock in on him. You are not going to beat us. And the thing is, you look at this Final Four. Sampson's been there before. John Shire has not been there as a head coach before. That is huge. You cannot say that enough. Like, Duke had to get on a plane, travel multiple hours to a different time zone to come play this game. U of H had to hop on a plane for about 7 minutes, and they get from Hobby to San Antonio. Their coach has been there before. He's got his whole family there. Sampson does. He's got his daughter, obviously, Lauren. He's got his kid, who's the associate head coach. You've got Quantus White, who's still with them, who's going to take the job, obviously, at Louisiana after this game. They play again, man. They played last year. U of H had that game, a shot at the end. This is a legacy game for Sampson. Like, I cannot say that enough, that everything, that's what scares me. Everything is lined up for them to win this thing. Because whoever wins between U of H and Duke will beat Tennessee or Florida. Or not Florida or Auburn. I don't care how good they are. Whoever wins this game will beat Auburn or Florida.
And the Auburn-Florida thing, for folks that listen to a lot of college basketball stuff, if you're a locked-on college basketball fan or whatever, like, there's a whole other set of things on there. Just like they played however many times this year, SEC, all that. I do kind of wish there wasn't a guaranteed SEC team in the championship game. That's neither here nor there. It's interesting in watching and looking back and scorebook watching, trying to figure out what games to study on Duke, because their 3 immediately preceding games of this were Baylor, Arizona, Alabama, all teams Houston has played. And I would argue, like, Houston looked better against Arizona than Duke did. They both looked good against Baylor. Duke probably looked better against Alabama than Houston did, but that was before Thanksgiving, right? So I don't know how to gauge that. They've both played. They both played Kansas. They played Arizona. Duke played Arizona in the pre-conference part of the season as well. Both played Auburn. A lot of common opponents here. And consistently, the deal is that Duke's got this high-flying offense, number one offense in KenPom, and Houston's got this elite, wear you down defense, number one defense in KenPom. Do you think it comes down to that side of the floor, Mike, or the other side, where it's Houston's number 10 offense versus Duke's number 5 defense?
It's such a great question, dude, because we've both been around the game so long. I played, I coached. What I know for a fact, defense wins championships. And it's not to say you have to have the number 1 defense, but you have to have guys that will girls that will lock in on the defensive end and get stops when you need them. You can have all the scorers you want in the world. You can have all the talent you want in the world. But when it comes down to it, if U of H is up by 1 with 10 seconds left, you got to play defense, right? And on the other side, if you've got to get a bucket, you look at this U of H team. And are they going to blow the doors off and score 110 points a game? No, that's not them. But if you got to get a bucket, I've got multiple guys that I can go to. I got Uzan. I got Cryer. I think Terrence Arsenault showed me something in the Tennessee game too. He was big Like a guy who's just been on the floor for most of the year who doesn't stand out. He stood out in that Tennessee game.
Well, and in Tennessee, I would also point out, like, Houston had a decent lead, but when he came in, Jalen Roberts had just gotten a second foul pretty early.
Huge.
They were going to go small, and like that kind of felt like a time where Tennessee could take a chunk of the lead away. And Arsenal had 8 straight points to say, "Nah, we're not doing that." No. And like he has those kinds of flashes where like he is that good, and so it'd be interesting to see if he has another one of those kind of moments here. I pulled up on Basketball Reference. Houston is the slower paced team. Houston has had games, though, whether it's 72 against Arizona, 76 against Baylor. I'm trying to pull it up. Like they scored 81 against Gonzaga in the second round. Don't get me started about the fact that Gonzaga was a second round game. They scored in the 80 against Tech, Kansas State, BYU. They get up there sometimes. Do you think this game's more likely to be close to 60 or close to 80?
Oh, it's going to be closer to 60. Because I think that Sampson is going to force this game into the 60s. He's not going to let Duke and their high-flying offense be high-flying. And when Juwan Roberts, the guy who has the most wins of any player in the history of the program. You've got LJ Cryer, who is going for trying to be the first guy to win a national title at multiple schools. Experience is going to be crucial in this game because the 3 guys we just talked about have not been there. Shire has been there as an assistant coach, I think twice, but he was not the main guy. This is their first time going through this. This is not Sampson's first time. It's not his first time at the rodeo, if you will, right? And I think that this game is going to be in the 60s. I mean, I know U of H are dogs in this game. I think they're 4.5-point dogs. I love Houston outright in this game. I cannot talk about how U of H is not going to come into this game and get blown out. There's no way. I don't see a way because Sampson won't let them. They may not win, but they're not going to get blown out. And if they're not going to get blown out, give me U of H's experience within that program to get this game to the finish line.
I'll talk about experience and more about this program because I could talk about this program for hours and hours on end.
Oh yeah,
but
we'd be here until the game.
Until the game. But before we get too far, today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. And if we were going to go all the way to the game and to tip off, given that that's just under 48 hours away, I probably would need one of these 5 Hour Energies because when you're staying up late watching NCAA tournament games or still adjusting to daylight savings time, whatever. 5 Hour Energy has your back. Whether you're just needing to get through the day, get through that golf game after work, whatever. 5 Hour Energy is great because it's small, it's compact, a bunch of flavors. I kind of get into the blue raspberry, the soury kind of stuff, but they got all kinds of stuff for whatever you need. You can get your own 12-pack, 24-pack delivered right to your door. If you need one, you go to 5hourenergy.com. Again, over 15 flavors to choose from. If you need one faster than that, go to your local grocery convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Parker Ainsworth and Mike Brown talking Houston Cougars to the Final Four. You mentioned experience, and you mentioned this idea of like having the veteran team. Duke's got a bunch of freshmen. Duke's got a coach that's relatively early in his head coaching career, and they're kind of on the stage for the first time. Sampson and frankly a handful of these guys were just here a few years ago. Sampson's been around since before you, as far as head coaching jobs go, since before you or I were born. When I look at that as a key, especially if it's a close game, important difference in detail to me. And I think, not to harp on the past too much, but like we saw that against Purdue, right? Like we saw, hey, we're going to run a quick wrinkle off a play that we already run all the time. They're not going to be ready for it here. Like that takes being cool, calm, and collected in a different way. Is there another moment that sticks out to you as like, okay, this team has a veteran leadership that's just a little bit different that you're like latching onto and think about this is going to be important in the Final Four game?
I think I've never seen a coach anywhere in NBA, in college, that is so locked in on his team's performance and never outwardly happy unless the game is in hand. I mean, I'm sitting there with a couple buddies watching the whole tournament, and the guys who are not U of H fans, and one of them said to me, they said, "Is he ever happy?" And I said, "No, I said, never. I swear to God, like I'm standing there. Like I've been to 4 or 5 games this year. When you watch him, you can be up by 25 points, but if you don't rotate good defensively, you're out of the game. You're done. Like, okay, go sit on the bench. I don't care who you are. Like, it doesn't matter. That to me, he's not going to be one of those guys unless it's a huge monumental moment. It doesn't matter what's happening in the game. Guy hits a big three. You know, let's say U of H opens the game 10-0, and Duke calls timeout. He's going to come in. I guarantee, everybody at home, watch the TV. He's going to go to one of the guys and said, hey, 3 plays ago, you didn't rotate. When they screened, you're supposed to go under, not over. Why did you go over? And he's going to just, like, that's so rare. That doesn't happen.
He does both ends of that, though, because it's like you're talking about where he doesn't get too high when they're on the 10-0 run.
Yep.
But then against, like, Kansas, right, they're down 6 with less than 15 seconds to go, and everything's cool. We're going to press. We're going to make it 3. We're going to press, get the ball back, make it 3. And that doesn't even sound real, and that's exactly what happened. Yep. He's not too low then, and then 16 seconds later when they made both threes and tied up for a second overtime, he's not too high then. And yes, Duke fans at the same Kansas that y'all lost to, how about mutual opponents here? I'm probably shooting shots a little bit, but I just feel like that's important, and that's not to say that Shire won't be a great coach one day. I frankly think that they're a very good program. He's clearly a very skilled recruiter, and he's clearly got them in a Final Four this early in his coaching career. You got to take some lumps along the way, right?
Yeah, and it's going to happen Saturday. I mean, one of those lumps has to come Saturday. I thought it just real quick. You also got to talk about how open Sampson's been this week, talking in the media about how far this program has come, and the days of him dragging kids. I was there, like I was on campus, and I saw this firsthand. He went into the dorms with pizza and all these things, and he's telling these kids, come watch our guys. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there. So many things had to happen where the Rockets didn't offer him the head coaching job, and he finds his way, same city at the same time, where he's able to keep his family together, where he was in line. I wanted him to be the Rockets head coach. Now it's all worked out, I would say. But how far this guy has come with this program is just like, I'm not one of those guys, Parker, that gets emotional talking about sports. But I mean, it literally could bring a tear to your eye. Like, it really could. Like, when you love this university like you and I do, this is it. Like, I said it on my podcast. They win this game, I will never complain. If they win the championship, I will never complain about another one of my teams. I don't care. I don't care. The Dolphins could go 0-17. The Rockets could miss the playoffs for the next 10 years. I don't care. Because this will mean more to the diehard University of Houston fans. I mean, saw the Astros win in 17, which was pretty great. This would top that. This would be the greatest.
The deal to me about it, too, as you mentioned, is like, he did get in trouble in Indiana for a bunch of phone calls. I would quickly point out that that's not even a thing anymore. Like, that's a laughable offense. He's too caring. He called people too many. Like, come on. And it was a lot of phone calls, but like he called people too many times. The way that all went down, his own career being rebuilt arc, the rebuilding of Houston arc, and how those things go together. That this team, and yes, they've got 5 stars coming in this next year. Like 2025's got Harwell, Sanak, Fleming's. Like they're good. Right. But this team is like Jawan Roberts was a 3-star from Colleen Shoemaker. Right. And like he's turned into this. Right. LJ Cryer was kind of the also ran at Baylor. He's turned into this. Right. Miles Uzan was like the second guard. He was a starter, but he was kind of the second guy every year he was at Oklahoma. He's turned into this. Right. They built this thing on these kinds of guys. Malik Wilson started off at Louisiana. Not Louisiana State, Louisiana, right? Like it's a program built on that kind of toughness and that kind of, frankly, like a lot of guys that have gone through a tremendous growth to get here, just like this program did.
I mean, JoJo Tugler too. I mean, Javier Francis. I mean, guys who have made it past injuries and come back. And this is just, I mean, this is so our team. I don't know how else to describe it. Like if you're a U of H fan, this is our like they're so likable. They're so likable. I saw an article where is John Shire making Duke likable? No, we all hate Duke. Like, nobody likes Duke. But this U of H team is, you hear Charles Barkley talk about him. You hear Ernie, Clark Kell, like all these different guys. They all just have amazing things to say about Sampson. And he's just such a humble guy. And ever since he's gotten to the University of Houston, this guy has done nothing but push the university. And look, I would be remiss if I wasn't on the show with you, and I love doing shows with you always. You got to thank Renu Couture, who supported this, the building of the performance facilities. U of H getting the Jordan partnership has been monumental for them. Wish they would sell more of our gear, but that's besides the point, because I would buy it all. I gotta say, man, I can't wait to be there Saturday. This is going to be an atmosphere like no other. I feel like I literally don't have any words left about we just got to get there and we're going to party. It's going to be a big party Saturday with a bunch of University of Houston crazies.
It's going to be a lot of University of Houston crazies, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And, Mike, a lot of people tune in Locked On Coogs daily. As March Madness going on, you get a few people that pop in for basketball season. You cover basketball, football, and a whole bunch of stuff over at Beer Sports, whatever.
Yes,
what's the latest one? What's going on? Tell people where that is.
Oh, yeah. You can check us out. Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We do weekly shows. My dad and I talk basketball. We talk weather. We talk beer. We talk whatever. We talk about, what do you get at a Mexican restaurant, his favorite meal. All of our people love hearing from him. I'm just there to host. Everybody loves Pops. Pops is the greatest. We're going to get T-shirts made with his face on it. But no, every Tuesday we record 8:30 on my Facebook, and then it goes straight to Apple Podcast, Spotify. We're up to 238 episodes. So getting near 250, which is really exciting. But getting to do it with my dad is it's the greatest. He's retired now, so he needs a hobby. So he does that and water aerobics. So we talk about his water aerobics all the time, which is it's the funniest thing in the world to see like a 69-year-old Jewish man just flopping around in a pool. Like, I can't wait to actually go see it for the first time. But yeah, BSW, so excited. We got so lucky with a couple extra tickets, and we're blessing people and handing out free tickets, which is amazing. And I might have a couple more tomorrow. So everybody keep on my Twitter at MikeBrown_2020. If I do get a couple more of those tickets, we're looking to send Cougars to the games on Saturday.
It's a drivable distance. Mike Brown's giving away tickets on Twitter at MikeBrown_2020. Get on Twitter, find Mike, grab tickets, get in the car, and go. While you got red on, go. All right, Locked On Cougs, Locked On Podcast Network means your team, our Final Four bound Houston Cougars every day. Go Cougs, Mike. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs, baby.